Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In the Pit with Lobo Tiggre, or the Independent Speculator Interviews, as they're also known. Our victim of the day, or our guest of honor, is Mark Brown. He's the chairman of Avrupa Minerals. This is a company I've known for some years. I do not own the stock at present. It's Mark Jobs here to try to convince me to change that, and maybe yours too. But I do know a little bit about it, and let me just get Mark to introduce the company first, and then we'll go into questions.
Thanks very much, Lobo. I mean, the first thing to say is that the word Avrupa is actually Turkish for Europe. So we are exploring in Europe, and that shocks a lot of people. But there's great histories of mining all over Europe, and we're exploring for really big projects in fantastically historic mining areas that were mined back to Roman times. And generally that's in Portugal and Kosovo for us.
Okay, well that's a quick update. I was actually going to ask about that. I've been on the ground with you, but I never asked that question, like why Avrupa? Why would you pick a name that nobody can pronounce or knows what it means? So what's the Turkish connection there?
Well, Paul Kuhn's wife is Turkish, and Paul actually, the CEO, lived in Turkey for about 15 years. Historically, both of us actually worked for Eldorado Gold. And
okay.
I was in Vancouver, Paul was in Turkey, and he actually did some early work on some of the projects that have become big discoveries in Turkey. And so he studied Europe geologically, and he lives in Lisbon in Portugal. And Avrupa had two key things. It kind of gave people a focus of where we were, if you understand that it means Europe, and it started with an A, so we're at the top of a lot of lists.
Okay, very good. All right, so you didn't say this, but I know that you're pursuing the prospect generator / JV model of doing business, and that is you're staking or acquiring different prospects, and then you're looking for partners to spend the high-risk dollars advancing them, using other people's money to advance the company. Can you tell us about how that's going? How many JVs do you have going? How many projects do you have? How many are in JV, and how's the model working for you?
The model's been up and down through the slower market and the mining exploration stuff. It's been really tough. Having said that, we've actually signed a joint venture one a year since we started the company. So we've had 7 joint ventures, some with majors, some with juniors. We've actually made 2 discoveries following that model. One in Kosovo, a small gold deposit there, about 120,000 ounces we discovered right at surface, about 5 grams per ton. So not a bad grade, but it's not that big. And in that case, that was all funded. We spent probably about 100,000 euros doing the initial work there, and our partners spent about 5 million euros
Nice
advancing
ratio.
the project. And that's what you want, right? There's also other potential to make that a lot larger, and they're doing a little bit of work on that right now. We also have some smaller mining companies coming in and looking at that area of Kosovo to actually look at a production opportunity and putting that into production. So we're diluted to about 10.5% on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a conscious choice that the board made after kind of doing some financial analysis of that project. We'll get diluted to a royalty, a 1.5% royalty when we hit 10%. But we do have people coming in looking at potentially buying that whole project. So we could get actually a cash payment for that at some point here. And then in Portugal, which has been our biggest focus, we've had several joint ventures, and right now, this minute, like as of a few weeks ago, we actually don't have any active joint ventures in Portugal right now. We do have many companies looking at joint venturing some of our projects. But let me go back a bit. About a year ago, we looked at the market and said this is a really tough market. And we have a couple of projects that we've actually had discoveries on, particularly the Alvalade project in Portugal. Mm-hmm. And we said we need to get this moving. The way we're going to make money for our shareholders is by getting drilling done, whether it's funded by us or partners or in some shape or form. So we kind of changed our model about a year ago, and we said, well, we're going to have one key project that we're going to move forward ourselves with our own funding. And our shareholders actually kind of embrace that. I mean, I know there's a few diehard prospect generator people, like Rick Rule, for example. He won't like that, but others will. And so far, it's been very positively taken. Now, we hadn't actually done that. And the reason is because our best project that we had, we found a joint venture partner for it. We announced that last March, and we've had a lot of delays on getting that partner to actually get active on the ground. And we haven't signed the final agreement with them. But it's a very large deal. The first stage earn-in was 10 million euros. And if they went right to the end of all the agreements, it goes up to about 45 million euros. And you have to remember our market cap is only 5 million Canadian dollars. Mm-hmm. So that's quite a large deal on that project, and they were also optioning 2 other projects. So because of the delays on that deal, we've said, well, we have too many factors here we can't control. We can't control the stock market, can't control metal prices, but we can control actually getting some drilling done on our project while we're waiting for this joint venture partner to get to a point where they can actually come in on it. So we've told them that we're going to go ahead and drill this project. And it's kind of an interesting situation because it turns things around for us. Now we have drilling going on. If we hit something huge on this project, we have no commitment to actually do a deal with them. Would we still do a deal with them? Well, probably. They're a pretty big group. They have a lot more funding. The deal was very favorable for us and a good opportunity for them as well. And they're the 4th largest copper producer in the world. So it'd be a great partner to have. They're operating in Europe and in other regions nearby. So there's a lot of good things about it, but we're going to go ahead and drill this ourselves, and we're raising some money to do that right now.
Okay, I certainly understand that in response to a trickier market, but the whole idea of the prospect generator model is risk mitigation. So if you abandon the model in this case and you drill that puppy and it comes up dry, do you kill it? Then you have no deal and you spend a bunch of money. What happens then?
Well, I really believe, having raised money for many companies and many drill programs, that if we drill it and we do kill it, that's actually a really good thing. It stops wasted money, wasted property fees, wasted efforts, and we go focus on something else. Now, on that property specifically, it's about an 800 square kilometer property. Okay?
We're talking Alvalade here, right?
The Alvalade in southern Portugal, in the area called the Iberian Pyrite Belt, known for copper, lead, zinc.
Right.
So there's big mines nearby. There's the Aljustrel mine nearby, which is about 40 kilometers from us. It's operated by a Portuguese company. The Lundin Mining Group has the Neves Corvo mine. It's about 80 kilometers away. And so the reason I'm fairly positive we'll do well in this drill program is a couple of things. Number one, Antofagasta funded $6.5 million US on this project about 4 to 6 years ago, and we actually made a discovery already. That discovery extended out over 1.8 kilometers, and I mean, I have it, you can't see this, but I just can't, this is a piece of the drill core, and you can't really see the grades, but this is one of the holes we hit. And it was about an 8-meter intercept of 2.2% copper, 90 grams silver, 3% lead, and 4.8% zinc. Also with tin and cobalt. And tin and cobalt are important for a number of reasons, but one is because that's the same mix of elements they have at the Neves Corvo mine not too far away. Mm-hmm. And we hit this over 1.8 kilometers, different grades. There was lower grades as we got further out. But actually one of the intercepts was over 60 meters, even though that was only about 0.3 copper. So we have hit this before, and that's what we're following up on. We're also, in that area, the infrastructure is excellent. There's a railway that goes from the Neves Corvo mine, which is a very, very large mine, right to the coast, transporting their copper concentrates and their zinc concentrates. There's power lines, there's roads, there's friendly community, there's mining history in the area. So it's an excellent place to actually build a mine. Not that we would be in that role. We would be hopefully taken over by then. But in addition to the large company that we've been negotiating with, we do have a couple other groups interested in the project. And one of the problems we have with these majors is they're very slow to pick projects. They're looking at so many things. Mm-hmm. So drilling this again also, gives us a few drill results that'll hopefully bring in more interest from them as well. And we probably would go back to the prospect generator model if we get a very large company coming in, because this is a very large potential project. So for us to fund really large 10 million euro drill programs would be very tough when our shares are trading at 5 cents a share.
Right. Okay, so let's, again, pulling back to the question of the model. You just had Oz Minerals hand back the Vito project. Did they drill it wrong? Did they do it wrong? Or is the project now no longer as appealing as it was and you go on to look for something else? Are you glad it was them who broke their pick there? Or are you frustrated that it didn't get its proper shake? Or where are we at with that?
So the Vito project is just north of the Iberian Pyrite Belt. It's actually an IOCG, iron oxide copper gold type deposit. Oz Minerals gave it back to us, I don't know, 20, 30 days ago after we did 2017 summer, we did field work. 2018, we did drilling. So they told us that they would come in, and if they didn't find something big, they would go and leave and give it 100% of it back to us. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, we did hit 7 meters of 1% copper in the drill program. And we hit lots of intercepts of 0.2 and 0.3% copper, but they were looking for higher grade copper as well as more gold in the system. So in an IOCG, like Olympic Dam in Australia, those things tend to be large. We didn't find something really large. Having said that, that was first pass drilling. It was the first time we've ever drilled that project, and we think we did okay. We proved that there is a system there. We're not sure we drilled. Again, it's a very large project. That one's about 1,000 square kilometers. So there's still lots of potential on it, and we actually do have other partners looking at it right now. We just didn't hit things that Oz Minerals was really attracted to. So, and that's natural in this business. And yes, they spent the money, de-risked it for us. Are we gloating about the fact that they spent a whole bunch of money on a project? Absolutely not. I mean, we're happy we hit some small intercepts, and we don't think we've really killed that project yet. We really liked working with Oz Minerals. One of the things that's really good about the prospect generator model is that, like, when we were doing the drilling, it's run by our team in Portugal. So we have some excellent geologists in Portugal, managed by Paul Kuhn, who lives in the CEO, who lives in Lisbon. And Oz Minerals sent a geologist to be there almost full time while we were drilling. And he questioned everything we did. And every little thing, and that's excellent oversight because it's their money. So Oz Minerals was a very responsible company to do that. Not all companies do that, but it gave us, even more focus on what we were doing there. And I was in the room when they were debating where to actually do the drilling, and that was a really good debate. They didn't pick all the targets we proposed, but we did drill 15 holes, and we did hit in a few of them. So it wasn't what they wanted to see. It didn't kill the project yet. It proved the model, but a geological model is great. What we're looking for, of course, is large economic deposits.
Right. No, and I get that. Majors, Newmont will come in and drill a couple holes 500 meters apart. If they don't hit on both, it's not big enough for us, and we're gone. And then somebody else comes in later and finds a world-class deposit that went sideways or something. So yeah, I get that. On the other hand, if I'm an investor and I've been following your story for a while, we have these partners, they come, they go, a little bit of money is spent. It seems like it's never enough money. The target is never fully tested, and then you're back and having to raise money and find another partner again. Kind of frustrating. I guess the question is, I understand the logic of the model, but if I'm an investor coming to the company now, why is now the time to invest? I mean, the model may work eventually, but what would be the reason to get excited about buying your stock right now?
Well, I just think, Louis, it's the best time ever to be buying this stock. I mean, and here's why. And it's not so much even what we're doing. We're doing some good things. Our projects are more advanced. We've made a discovery in Portugal and a discovery in Kosovo in our short life of the company. Yes, they're not huge yet, and the one in Portugal still needs a lot of work to understand it. But if you believe that the market is turning for base and precious metals, which it seems to be, that's going to really help us. It's going to bring a lot of more attention on what we're doing. If you also understand that, big picture, there's about 1 billion more people on the planet every 10 years, and those people need particularly base metals. So I see the demand for that growing. We're getting inquiries on these projects from international companies all over the world. And that doesn't mean really anything until you've actually got to deal with them. But we're also trading at the lowest price we've really ever been at. I mean, we're at 4.5 and 5 cents this morning. The financing we're doing, unfortunately, is at 5 cents with a 3-year warrant. And we've never done a 3-year warrant before. Now, we put a force on it, but we've done it 3 years because it puts it out after some other warrants we have already in the pipeline. So I'm just looking at this. You're buying a company that's made discoveries, operating in world-class areas near existing mines, and you've got a great geological team that has actually proven themselves to be a great geological team by making discoveries. Financially, we've built companies before. I've rung the bell of the New York Stock Exchange. We've built companies and had them go up to $15 a share. So we do kind of know what we're doing. The things we need that are going to hopefully change soon are the wind at our back from the market changing and that kind of stuff. And I kind of feel that happening. So I don't know if you've ever looked at my trading, but I do buy a lot of stock in these companies. And I did that with Rare Element Resources for 12 years. It was a tough market on that one for 12 years. And for the last 2 years, it was trading over $10 a share and traded the better part of a year at $15 a share.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing we want to do here. We're swinging for the fences. We're looking for really big returns, and we're patient. Our group here in Vancouver and our supporters, a bunch of our other shareholders, have participated multiple times in multiple financings. We like the prospect generator model. It's really just another way of financing exploration. But what's going to make a difference for a shareholder is actually getting drilling done, and that's why we're running to get more drilling done. And one of the other things I should mention about the Alvalade project is that there's actually a historic mine right on our project. So it's a bit of an ace in the hole for us. It's historically, there was a 50 million ton resource there, and they were mining it for the sulfides, for the pyrite. And it's an underground mine. I've been there many times, and they only mined out about 20 million tons. So there's 30 million tons. We think of about 0.7% copper still sitting there. And we haven't done any work on that yet. There's some environmental stuff, cleanup going on there. You know what happens with pyrite. And they're using it, the government of Portugal is actually using it as a test site to do some environmental testing. So they've actually got one pond that is blue and crystal clear and has trees and plants going around it. And then they have another pond that is dark red, and I'm not sure how long you'd survive swimming in that. So that mine is still there. I've actually been on the underground tour there a little bit. I was there over the summer, and it's got the resource, and we haven't done any work on that, but some of the larger companies are looking at our project because of that mine being on the
I'm sure the lawyers would want you to say it's got a historic resource or something, some disclaimer like that.
Yeah, we have we've announced that historic resource. We do have to say that, and it's this is from old mining records at the mine site, and it's well documented. So we've got a lot of information to back that up, and we've actually had an independent geologist do a review of that. So we've got some backup information on that. Right. Which is good to have, and of course we have to have under 43-101 as well.
So to be clear, the reason you haven't touched it yet is because if you do, then the environmental liability comes onto you, and that's why it's better to hold on for later?
That's right. That's exactly right. We've just kind of waited on that one. We'd rather have a major company doing the work on that, and some of the majors that have been looking at this have been quite interested in that as well. So,
but
it's 0.7% copper. So.
Yeah, no, that does change the sort of value question here. It's not, is there anything there? It's, there's something there, and what else can we add to it? That's a very different question. And I have several things in what you said, but I want to go back just to be clear. You mentioned this financing you have ongoing right now. Is there room for retail investors there? If somebody's an accredited investor and can qualify, is there room at the table, or is it all spoken for, or is there...
There's always room. We can make room for the right people and for new people coming in to follow us. We have a lot of existing shareholders participating. We have some funds participating as well. We quite often oversubscribe these financings if it's the right people coming in. Having said that, we also try and exclude people that we know are very short-term holders and quote-unquote warrant clippers. It's always a bit dodgy, but we do, like I said, me and 2 or 3 other groups own about 50% of this company. So we're very protective of our share structure.
Sure.
Having said that, we're already up to 94 million shares outstanding, which is a lot for us. So.
Right. So if you raise the 1.5 million, what does the shareholder get for that? What is that going to pay for drilling in Alvalade, more generative work, or what are the milestones ahead that money covers?
So the biggest thing is the drill program. The drill program budget is about 600,000 euros, so that's about $1 million Canadian dollars of the 1.5 million we're raising. The other 500,000 is a little bit for some generative work, and then the rest for G&A. So we've also been looking for some projects in Morocco, and we have a geologist on the ground there, and there's a few things we'd like to do there. We don't actually own any projects there yet, but There's a few, sample things we'd like to go take and check a few things out. So there, and there's interesting stuff in Portugal we'd like to do. We've actually got 2 other license applications in. So we're charging ahead with stuff. We need more money to do it also. Any extra money, we can use it.
Okay. You also have on the map on your website a project in Germany. You didn't mention that. Is that the unloved stepchild here, or up and coming, or what's up with that?
Well, I always laugh because on our map, Germany is the biggest physically, the biggest country. It looks like that's where most of our projects are. But we have one little project there in the old East German region there called the Erzgebirge Trend there. It's a historic mining area. It was mined for tin, and there's tin on the prospect that we have, but there's also been a lot of historic reports of gold panning. And, sorry, my phone's ringing there, of gold panning in the area, and no one's ever explored there for gold. So that's why we got it. And it came to us from a group called Beek Consultants, a German geological group. So we quite like the project, but it's very early stage and we've done very little work on it. So we do have plans to do maybe a little bit of work on it coming up in the spring. But there's just not that much to talk about there yet. And that's the kind of thing we do. We find these interesting opportunities in good mining areas and we assess them. And if we don't like them, we'll drop them and move on to something else.
And we're qualifying Germany as a good mining area? I mean, it seems like a very not in my backyard kind of area to me.
It does. I mean, this is in a historic mining area.
Okay.
The people, the Germans that we've talked to, we have 2 German directors on our board as well. They've all said, this is a known mining area. There's historic mines in the area, so it's possible to do this. And so that's part of our due diligence, is to kind of understand that better as well. So
okay.
We still have work to do there.
All right. So bottom line, how many projects are there in total, and how many are there under some kind of JV option right now?
So right now there's really one under the JV option, which is the one in Kosovo. Mm-hmm. I can give you a list of how many people are looking at other projects, but it's, that it means nothing until they actually sign the dotted line or write you a check. The German project, we'd look for a partner, but we still need to do early stage work there. On March 5th this year, we announced that 3 of our projects in southern Portugal are being optioned out to this 4th largest copper producer in the world, and that has not been closed, and so that deal is not done. Now, we had signed 2 separate agreements with them, letter of intent style agreements, non-binding, mm-hmm. and announced the second one, and now we're working on the final agreements, and their last hurdle, so they've told us that the money's in the budget to work on those projects. They've told us that they've cleared on legal and geological due diligence. Their last hurdle is meeting with the government of Portugal. And again, that's an important thing for them to do. It's not something we can control the timing of. So one of the reasons we need to drill on this project is because we have commitments with the Portuguese government to actually do work on the project. If we don't do a significant amount of work by the end of the year, we could risk losing the project. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure everything is in good standing. So we've kind of taken fate into our own control by doing this drill program we're talking about now on the Alvalade project.
Okay. All right. So bottom line is we have money going to the ground or surface, maybe in Kosovo, that dilutes you to a royalty, which would actually be a good outcome for you. You don't need to be building mines in Kosovo probably, but you get some cash flow to help. That's the only thing that's active right now. And then you're trying to close this deal with Alvalade, and maybe the drilling helps with that. With or without, the drill results could move the dial for you, and then the rest is all looking for partners.
That's right. I mean, Vito, as we talked about, Avrupa Minerals just left that deal, so we're opening that up to new people now. We're just starting to do that. We've, on these 3 projects in Portugal, Alvalade, but also one called Murtola and another one called Mariteca. Those ones were all going to be optioned out to this one group, and because they've been slow, we can actually show them to other people, so we've actually started to do that as well. So you're right, but there's no other active joint ventures at this time.
Okay, so the deliverables going forward then are possible news from Kosovo, possible news of the JV, but definitely your drill results. And what's the time frame on those?
We're hoping to start drilling in a couple of weeks. By the time we get results, it'll probably be January, February, I would think.
Okay. All right, maybe a nice PDAC present for you post Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. I know everyone tries to line up their news releases with the first week of PDAC, but I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
if that'll work.
No, all good. Okay, so I think I got the picture. I understand. You've been a good sport answering some pretty tough questions here. Those were the ones that I would want to know, or as a prospective investor. Anything else that you want to touch on before we go?
No, I mean, I just want to reiterate maybe that, we have a great geological team. We have good financial backers involved with the company. We wish our share structure was a little bit tighter, but it's not bad with the big shareholders we have. And we're looking for really, really big deposits. So, we're looking in elephant country, and that's what's going to be successful for us is if we find those big elephants.
Okay, well, thank you very much and good luck with it.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.